Well, let's talk more about the rising interest and the state of the region's economy. Joining me in studio is Bart Oosterveld, the Boyden Gray Fellow on Global Finance and Growth and Director of the Global Business and Economics Program at the Atlantic Council. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, interestingly, this isn't actually the first time the US has tried to buy Greenland. They actually tried and failed back in 1946 for about a cool $100 million.
Yes.
But what do you think in this period of time made Greenland so appealing to President Trump?
Okay, well, there's a lot of developments in Greenland that have to do with a rapidly melting ice sheet that covers 80% of the country, which is an environmental disaster, but is opening up in several areas, so mining, drilling, shipping, and tourism, new opportunities for the economy.
So let's delve into some of these opportunities. What does that bring with it, both good and bad?
There's a lot of interest from several major world powers in the region. As shipping lanes in the Arctic open up, for example, Russia, China, and the US are all taking an interest. For Denmark, this is this landmass that gives it its stature within NATO, so it's of geostrategic interest to Denmark. And for the population, the local population, this is the opportunity to get, through investment, through tourism, away from its historical dependence on fisheries.
Now, obviously, when suddenly a resource does start to open up, as with what's happening with the ice sheets melting, what are some of the downsides that come with it once you now have this renewed interest?
I could think of several. So there's geostrategic competition and strife about these resources. You have to imagine, for example, in the area of mining, these are the rare earth minerals that we all need in our iPhones and other modern technologies. China has historically had a lock or a near monopoly on the production of many of those. 10% of the world's proven reserves of rare earth minerals are in Greenland. And so managing that for the benefit of the local population, for the benefit of Denmark, and for the benefit of the world at large will be a challenge.
And tell us a little bit more about Greenland's relationship with Denmark, both economically and politically.
Okay, so it is a part of Denmark and has been since the early 19th century. It receives a large block grant that accounts for about a third of its government budget, but less than 1% of Denmark's government budget to maintain this status. And in recent years, in domestic politics, there has been an increased attention to the potential for more independence economically and politically from Denmark.
And looking at the demographics of the people in Greenland, what are some of the issues that they're dealing with, and what is the makeup of the population?
It's a 90% Inuit, so the original population. About a third of the population lives in the capital, Nuuk. And like I said, there's in recent years been a desire for more independence from Denmark.
And what about issues to do with gender equality? Are we seeing the sort of, the happiness index is usually something we always see Denmark at the top of the list. Is Greenland sharing in that, or would you say that it's reflective?
No, I would imagine it's behind on a lot of these social indicators, and it's part of with these new economic opportunities, part of the reason that this country is looking beyond its borders to new opportunities.
And speaking of new opportunities, what sort of potential do you see for Greenland?
Well, let's put this all in economic perspective. So when you look at Denmark as a whole, it has the population of Maryland and a slightly smaller economy. Greenland is the size, it has 60,000 people, it's the size of a municipality in the US. So it is growing rapidly economically and will grow more rapidly as all these new opportunities unfold. But it is, in the end, also a piece in a bigger chess game between major geopolitical powers.
And what do you see as the biggest threat to Greenland's growth?
Well, at the bottom of this, or behind all this, is an environmental disaster that we keep glossing over to talk about the economic opportunities. Just like the Amazon fires that we saw in recent weeks, the melting of this ice sheet is a major unmitigated climate disaster for humanity as a whole, and probably beyond the capacity of Greenland's government to manage at the moment.
So if you're saying that it's beyond the capacity of Greenland's government to manage it, where potentially then could help come from?
I would imagine the first place to look would be NATO and the Western world.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. That was Bart Oosterveld there from the Atlantic Council.